Okay guys, welcome and back. Today's presentation is about the role of technology and what it does to the brain and the trauma that is incurred by those who have been technologically trafficked. No, you are not insane. No, you are not alone. I, being a victim of these criminal snakes and their two-legged snake children, and I will not stop insulting these lizards. No. Okay? And I should do this video in a more professional manner, but I hate these people. I hate these people. I hate what they're doing, and I hate the fact that this is happening, and they're doing it in such a way to make the victims appear mentally ill when they're not mentally ill. Okay? And worst of all, they make so much money off of these programs. It is disgusting that people are making this kind of money buying and selling people into technological slavery, and no one is talking about this. Today's video is a self-help and learning educational video. If you do not want to discipline yourself and help yourself to get back some resemblance of life, this video is not for you. If you believe that you're a victim and continue to live as a victim, and you want the whole world to help you live as a victim, this video is not for you. If you believe in loving these people who are making money off of buying and selling you into these technological trafficking programs to be used for biomedical research, to be used for testing of new weapons, to be used for slavery, or testing new technologies, this video is not for you. If you believe that all conspiracy theorists are mentally ill, this video is not for you. Okay? And if you believe that you're a victim, this is not for you. The name of this presentation is Technologically Trafficked Individuals, Breaking Mind, Body and Spirit Control and Defeating Flight, Fight and Freeze Syndrome and Ending Technological Slavery. Okay, so the first part of this video is we're going to look at the brain. We're going to look at the role and the function of the brain. Again, this is an educational video, and the purpose of this video is to educate you on how the parts of your body is supposed to function without assault weapons hitting you, without paid gang stalkers stalking and terrorizing you, without slander campaigns afflicting you, without paid bribes being made to murder you, and after they murder you, they collect illegal insurance claims. So we're going to understand the parts of the brain and their roles in homeostasis. And when we look at parts of the brain, we are going to also examine how the brain, when it receives the wrong information via external energy weapons, what happens to the communication among the cells that causes the cells to translate wrong information, sends the brain to your organs, the organs processes the wrong information and makes you sick. These are the different areas of the brain. We're going to study them, we're going to look at them shortly, and we're going to see how they are supposed to work as opposed to when you're being traumatized by being hit with directed energy weapons or assaulted by these devils and their children. And no, I will not stop calling them devils, because that is exactly what they are. If it looks like a devil, if it acts like a devil, then it is a devil. They do not deserve the title of human. Human, a title of human, you must have humanity. In order to be given a title of human, you must act like a human. If you act like a devil, you are not getting the prestigious title of being called a human. Those days are over. Okay, so this article is from the Brainwave Center, and what we're going to do is we're going to look at the brain and the role and functions of each part of the brain. I'm going to keep it short, but I'm going to show you how the brain is supposed to work when you're not being hit by cellular bending, mind-bending, invisible weapons, versus when the brain is left alone to do what the brain does on its own. Okay, the first one is the amygdala, lying deep in the center of the limbic emotional brain. This powerful structure, the size and shape of an almond, is constantly alert. It is constantly alert. You don't realize that your amygdala is like from today, you're going to learn that your amygdala is like this. Now think about the amygdala that is constantly alert. It's like a war veteran. It's like an army soldier. You're constantly alert for cues, okay? You don't realize your amygdala is like this, but today you're going to learn that your amygdala is like this. Now think about your amygdala working like the security system in your home, always waiting for the cue of when a criminal is about to enter your home or whether you're about to enter your home. It's literally like this. Now think about the amygdala when it's being assaulted, if it's constantly alert to the needs of basic survival, including sex, emotional reactions such as anger and fear. Consequently, it inspires averse cues such as sweaty palms, and has recently been associated with a range of mental conditions including depression. If you are a technologically trafficked individual and you are suffering with technological depression, it is because your amygdala is being assaulted with energy weapons, transferring wrong information. If you think energy weapons cannot communicate, and if you think it cannot communicate with the cells in your body, that communicates, and I'm going to show you this in later slides, that your cells communicate in cellular linguistics, not cell phones. Okay, we're talking about, they're literally trying to block me from like remembering the words and trying to mess up my ability to speak. Screw you, two-legged snakes. Molecular biology, that's the word I was looking for. If you are suffering with technologically induced depression, your amygdala is being assaulted. Okay? It is larger in male brains, often enlarged in the brains of sociopaths. So the people who have thrown you into these technological trafficking programs are sociopaths, and they will have a larger amygdala to make room for their sociopathy. I hate these people. The brainstem, the part of the brain that connects the spinal cord. Okay? The brainstem controls functions basic to the survival of animals, such as your heart rate, your breathing, your digestion, and your sleeping. Many technologically trafficked victims complain about arrhythmia, their heart not beating according to the proper rate. Their breathing is off. The inability to digest food. When I started getting hit with directed energy weapons, and then I started getting assaulted from the implants in my body, I have a hard time processing meat, and I cannot process dairy. Now, the brainstem controls this. Now, if you're being assaulted from implants in your body or assaulted from directed energy weapons, the homeostasis of the brainstem will be off. It will result in arrhythmia. Your heart rate will be off. Your breathing will be off. Your ability to digest foods will be off. And your sleeping patterns will be out of control, which will affect your REM state, rapid eye movement, and your circadian rhythm. This is just the brain. I haven't even gone into the depths of how this thing really works. Okay? The cerebellum. Okay, this is 2 peach-sized mounds of folded tissue located at the top of the brainstem. The cerebellum is the guru of skilled, coordinated movement. Skilled, coordinated movement, like learning to play tennis, learning to play the piano, learning to run, jog, walk. Now, this is the homeostasis of how the cerebellum is supposed to work. When you're being assaulted with directed energy weapons, your hand-eye coordination is off. Your ability to dodge and duck will be heightened if you're in a state of flight. If you're in a state of freeze, your ability to respond to a real threat will be off. That tells you that your cerebellum is being affected from being physically assaulted by directed energy weapons or assaulted by the paid, gang-stalking, murderous, homicidal, sociopathic criminals. The cerebrum. This is the largest part of the brain structure in humans and accounts for about 2/3 of the brain mass. You can read more about it, but I'm going to go down to the essential parts. It consists closely of packed neurons that control most of your bodily functions, including, guess what? Consciousness. Can you touch consciousness? This is why I said this presentation is to help you get back control of the 3 areas of your existence: your mind, your body, and your spirit. Because we see that the cerebrum controls your consciousness. Your senses, that is your ability to see, smell, taste, touch, hear. Okay, and those of you who are psychic, it also affects that because it affects your consciousness, right? So we see that the cerebrum in homeostasis works to control the senses in a coordinated manner. Now, the cerebrum acting dysfunctionally when you're being assaulted with directed energy weapons or the wireless body area networks that the perps have on their cell phones as an app that they aim at you and hit you with, it causes either sensory overload, which puts you into fight, flight, or freeze. Hyper vigilantism, literally, like, or you literally go the opposite direction, you go into depression. Your cerebrum is under assault. You are not mentally ill. That is the purpose of deconstructing the human body under assault from these types of weapons. The frontal lobe. Now this is very important, this part of the body. Okay? It is the most recently evolved part of the brain and the last to develop in young adults. Parents, if your children are listening to violent music, you are stunting the development of their frontal lobe. If your children are exposed to things they should not be exposed to, you are stunting the development of their frontal lobe. And this can have very long-term damaging effects. If your children is listening to violent music, playing violent video games, watching violent movies, you are destroying the frontal lobe of your child because it's the last to develop in young adults. Its dorsolateral prefrontal circuit is the brain's top executive. What does that mean? Listen to this. It organizes responses to complex problems. People, your brain is doing this. Okay? All of this work is going on in this magnificent organ that doesn't need technology inside of it. It is doing this on its own. And these fucking pieces of shit, I hate these people, decides that this perfect organism needs to have implants inside of it. This is a fucking crime. Calm down. It organizes responses to complex problems. This is how it's supposed to work in homeostasis versus when it's under trauma. Searches memory for relevant experience. Adapts strategies to accommodate new data. Guides behavior with verbal skills and houses working memory. The orbital frontal circuit manages emotional impulses like my pure and utter hatred for these Frankenstein freaks. Emotional impulses in socially appropriate ways for productive behavior. Now, how can you distinguish between a real human and these Frankenstein freaks? The frontal lobe. The frontal lobe is responsible for human behaviors and feelings like empathy. If you lack empathy, you are not classified as a human. If you lack altruism, check your humanity. If you have an inability to have facial expression conducive to your environment, there's something wrong with you. Now, what's interesting is that stroke in this area releases foul language and fatuous behavior patterns, okay, erratic behavior patterns. Now, this is how it's supposed to work, the frontal lobe. Now, when a person is traumatized, the frontal lobe will be unable to respond to complex problems, or it will respond to complex problems in a way that is not conducive towards a solution. Meaning, you have a problem, and instead of the person evaluating the problem and applying the relative solution to the problem, they may overreact or be apathetic and not react to the problem at all. Okay? When you're dealing with being hit with directed energy weapons, your ability, your frontal lobe's ability to organize and respond to complex problems gets thrown off. Your frontal lobe no longer is able to plan steps towards an objective, meaning making long-term decisions and working towards reaching those goals. Your ability to search memory for relevant experience is over because you are literally being blocked from recalling memories that can help you overcome problems. The traumatic brain. Okay? And then you see things like such as verbal skills. Like one of the things they literally tried to do to me was literally ghettoize my ability to speak. Okay? They literally tried to get me to act and speak like I was from the ghetto. I have no problem with the people from the ghetto. I don't care. Okay, you treat me with respect, I don't care your class, your money, your standards, it doesn't bother me. I'll treat you with respect. But they literally tried to change my verbal patterns. But I beat them to it and started acting like it for certain reasons. Okay, let's look at the temporal lobe. This controls memory, storage area, emotion, hearing on the left side, and language. Okay? Now, when the brain is under assault by energy weapons, you have to think, what is energy weapons? It's not just energy burning you up. This is communication, people. This is communication. Energy is a form of communication as well that can alter the existing communication fields in living entities. It's energy. It lives. Okay? Destructive energy weapons from these frequencies and these microwaves. What does it do? Now, the temporal lobe, working in homeostasis, controls memory. It stores information, controls your information, helps you with your auditory and your hearing abilities, and on the left side, and also your language. What does a traumatic brain, a technologically trafficked brain, how does it impact a technologically trafficked brain? Your inability to store memory, to store information, erratic emotions, your hearing is off, and your language and your communicative skill either gets sped up. Many times I've spoken to TIs and I had to train myself to literally learn to shut up when people speak. And I literally have to have people, Renetta, listen, and I'm like, sorry. Because they don't understand that they literally speed up your language. Why? Because you end up speaking like that because they cut off your memory. So you try, when you have the cue, when your temporal lobe recalls the memory, you literally have to get it out before you forget. Not realizing that the person who's listening to you is just overwhelmed with information. And it's not done on purpose. It's because your brain is under assault. The brain in homeostasis, the brain being assaulted by technological criminals. The parietal lobe receives and processes sensory information from the body, including calculating location and speed of objects. We're looking at spatial awareness, okay? Your distance from a car going at 100 miles an hour, can you make it across the street? Your distance from someone chasing you, your distance from the fan, your distance from, I don't know, your work, okay? Your spatial awareness. This is how the parietal lobe, this is the function of the parietal lobe and how it's supposed to work in homeostasis. The parietal lobe of a person who is technologically trafficked and technologically assaulted by directed energy weapons works kind of like this. Everyone who comes into their circle, they automatically think the person is a perp and out to get them. If the person literally does anything to set off their fight, flight, and freeze, they literally go into trauma mode. The brain under homeostasis is aware of, has spatial awareness. It can recognize a threat versus a non-threat. The brain of a technologically trafficked person who's been hit with directed energy weapons by criminals who are paid to murder them to collect insurance policies operate differently. And the psychiatrists know this because they know these programs, because it was psychiatrists who worked with the CIA to create the no-touch torture program that forced the American Psychiatric Association to make a statement that anyone working with any psychiatrist, working with any government agency to torture people will be removed from the APA. You can go research this. They know this program. But they lie and say the victims of technological trafficking are mentally ill. Let's take a look at the APA. And their disassociation with anyone who August 17, 2017, APA reaction to settlement of torture case against psychologist Mitchell Jessen. The American Psychological Association reacted to the settlement of the case against two psychologists who allegedly devised and implemented the CIA's enhanced interrogation, no-touch torture. What do you think this technological trafficking? But this is conspiracy, right? Techniques by asserting that this does not absolve them of responsibility for violating the ethics of their profession. You can read the article, but I also want to show you that they actually had a convention of psychologists and psychiatrists, and they stated unequivocally any psychiatrist who has been found being a part of any torture program will be removed from the APA. Let's look at this. The settlement was announced by the American Civil Liberty Union, which filed the case in Spokane, Washington, on behalf of 3 men who were imprisoned and tortured in a secret CIA prison during George W. Bush's administration war on terror. Okay. I don't have time for you freezing. I really don't. Okay, this is The Economist in 2015. For those of you that are saying this no-touch torture program is a conspiracy, this is your psychiatrist and your psychologist. Any psychologist who is saying that this program is a conspiracy, ask them about their own association stating unequivocally they will remove psychologists and psychiatrists who engage in no-touch torture. How America's psychologists ended up endorsing torture. You can read the article. I'm not going to go into the article. You read it. That's The Economist. Credible sources, huh? You read the article, okay? Okay, I'm not going to spend 10 years on that. Okay, so where were we? We were at the hippocampus. Okay, so the hippocampus is located deep within the brain. It processes new memories for long-term storage. Okay, this is how it's supposed to work in symbiosis. This is how the brain is supposed to work when it's not being traumatized by being technologically trafficked or traumatized by being assaulted by directed energy weapons from paid homicidal maniacs. Located deep within the brain, it processes new memories for long-term storage. This is the homeostasis of the brain. The brain under trauma by directed energy weapons, by paid murderers. There is an inability for the technologically trafficked victim to recall or have long-term memory. And you can see this exhibited in their rapid speech. When you listen to TI, they tend to have fast speech. Why? Because they're literally trying, when their brain fires off and it remembers something that is categorized as a long-term memory, they have to speak it before it gets erased. And this is why you tend to have the TIs, literally when they speak, it's literally, and you're like, and psychiatrists and psychologists who know about these programs know that it is not mental illness. They know it is no-touch torture. Hypothalamus or hypothalamus, located at the base of the brain, where signals, think of electrical currents, that's what signals are, from the brain and the body's hormonal system interact. This is the normal working of the hypothalamus. It monitors numerous bodily functions such as blood pressure, body temperature, and controlling weight and appetite. This is the normal function of homeostasis of the hypothalamus. In the brain of a technologically trafficked individual, what you will see is you will observe that the signals in the brain that affect the hormonal system will induce high blood pressure, will induce raised body temperature as if the body's in a constant state of fever, will induce weight gain and increased or decreased appetite. The thalamus, located at the top of the brainstem, the thalamus acts as a two-way relay station, sorting, processing, and directing signals, electrical currents again, from the spinal cord and midbrain structures up to the cerebrum, and conversely from the cerebrum down to the spinal cord and the nervous system. This is the normal homeostasis function of the thalamus in a normal, unassaulted human being. When a person is technologically trafficked, what you observe is that they are constantly in a state of flight vigilantism. They're literally like, their speech is off and they're constantly nervous because they're being hit constantly and it's affecting the thalamus. This is the basis of understanding a normal brain that is not assaulted by weapons, that is not assaulted by criminals who are paid to stalk and harass innocent people all across the world, versus the brain when technological traffickers who are paid murderers assault victims with invisible, no-touch torture weapons that the American Psychological Association knows about because they created the no-touch torture program. You can read that online. Versus the brain of an individual who is under constant weapons assault from invisible weapons, have hired hitmen whose job it is to murder them to keep them from prosecuting the criminals. And after they've successfully murdered the victim, they collect illegal insurance claims. This is part one of understanding the brain, a normal brain versus the brain of someone who has been kidnapped and trafficked into technological slavery. I will be back with part two of this video.